3 weeks of a partial government shutdown and a standoff over the nation's debt limit came to an end with a last-minute deal brokered by lawmakers in the Senate this week. But the political gridlock that's engulfed Washington is far from resolved. The government shutdown began when Congress failed to pass a budget to fund the U.S. government for the new fiscal year, which started on October 1st. Despite several last-minute attempts, lawmakers could not even agree on a stopgap measure that would fund the government temporarily.
For 5 years, President Obama has carried an I won, it's my way, or the highway attitude. And he's not reached across the aisle to Republicans, who were also elected to solve the major problems facing this country. The president's refusal to work in a bipartisan way has led us to this shutdown.
The main point of contention between Republican lawmakers who hold the majority in the House of Representatives and Democrats who control the Senate was funding for the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. The president's signature piece of legislation makes health insurance mandatory for all Americans and creates a system of state-run marketplace exchanges to give people of all income levels different coverage options.
My view, and the view of a great many Republicans, is that Obamacare is a disaster, a train wreck, a nightmare.
Obamacare is no longer their number one issue. Their number one issue is to do anything they can to divert attention from the fools they've made of themselves.
The Affordable Care Act was signed into law in March 2010, and key provisions of the law took effect this month. But the ultra-conservative faction of the Republican Party, known as the Tea Party Caucus, is entirely opposed to Obamacare and used the budget as leverage to defund or delay its full implementation. In return, the White House refused to negotiate on a deal that would pass a government budget and raise the nation's debt ceiling, while Republicans sought to derail the health care law.
The problem is that we've seen this brinksmanship as a strategy time and time again to try to extract extreme or partisan concessions. And I think the American people have made very clear that's not how we expect Washington to do business. There are going to be differences between the parties. There are going to be differences in terms of budget priorities. But we don't need to inflict pain on the American people or risk the possibility that America's full faith and credit is damaged just because one side is not getting its way.
There have been 18 government shutdowns in the United States since 1976. The average shutdown lasted 7 days. 7 of the past 18 shutdowns have begun as budget disputes and each time have had a negative economic impact, leading to an average 2.5% decline in the Standard & Poor's 500 index, which is used to measure volatility in the U.S. stock market.